Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. We have a brand new look at the 2021/2022 brand new third generation of the TaylorMade P790 irons. Super exciting. We've got some new images to take a look at, some new information about when these irons are going to be coming to market, when you can order them. And I even found a website you can pre-order these irons even though they have not been officially announced. And if you want me to send you the link to that website, just comment in the comments below and I will give it to you there. So guys, first of all, let's dive in and let's start taking a look at these images. We have some really exciting images to take a look at that tells us quite a lot more about these products. So, you know, TaylorMade P790 irons, probably the most successful irons released of the last 4 or 5 years. When they were released in 2017, 4 years ago. In those two generations of irons, the first generation, the second generation, unbelievable success for TaylorMade. But there's going to be some changes to these new TaylorMade P790s, and I want to know your thoughts, you know, what you think is good about these changes or potentially bad as well, because they are already a very popular iron. So this first picture we have to take a look at. Really good look at the 5 iron. So previously, in my previous video, we took a look primarily at the UDIs, the 2 irons, but we have a look at many more irons in this video, including the new TaylorMade milled grind 3 wedges as well. We're going to be taking a look at too, which you might be able to see in the background there. So let's dive in. So TaylorMade P790 irons, first of all, looks. To me personally, it looks like a slightly squarer head profile. If you look at the bottom of the club, it looks much flatter. It doesn't look as round. And if you look at the edges, it looks slightly square. It looks like a slightly squarer head shape, slightly sharper edges. You could probably say it looks a little bit more modern, that kind of really sleek, square profile. Looks pretty good. You know, comment down below what you think of the aesthetics. Obviously, we have a little bit less chrome in this iron. We do have that chrome kind of sliver, that slim line through the back, but it's primarily that kind of brushed finish, more of that duller, slightly more matte-ish finish. Let me know if you like that, hate it, do you prefer the previous versions? I think it looks pretty good, to be honest. I think it looks good, to be honest, yeah. In the toe, sorry, we have that weight port, or sorry, not weight port, we have that speed foam injection port, which looks pretty cool. So, you know, these irons most likely are going to contain some sort of speed foam or something in them. Whether that will be the exact same as previous generations, we'll have to wait and see. It is TaylorMade after all. Normally, they've made a few tweaks and improvements. They don't like to sit on technology for too long. They tend to get out with the old and in with the new. So it would not surprise me if they have tried to make some kind of update to the material inside the club head, or there might be some story there. We also can see from this image that there is a speed slot in the bottom of these irons along the sole. Now, we have some more information on that in a second, because that is not in all of the clubs either. Also, if you look at that iron that's bottom left of this image, that also has a speed slot, and a slightly better look at the speed slot on those irons. Speed slots are kind of for forgiveness, off-centered hits, improving strike, improving launch, getting a bit more distance as well, possibly a little bit of acoustics as well. You can actually see on the bottom right of this iron, it says tungsten in it as well, so obviously it's going to feature tungsten, no surprise there, helps with weighting and forgiveness, CGI, all those sorts of fun things. Why don't we move it on from this image to the next one, because this next image, there's a lot to talk about. We have a bag full of irons in this image, a bag full of golf clubs. So check this out. This looks like it is probably in the TaylorMade factory, maybe. Maybe the tour truck. It looks more like it's probably in the factory to me. I don't really know. Comment if you know, or if you think you might know. Comment down below where this image was. But yeah, it looks sick, absolutely so sick. There's so many irons to take a look at, and also we have a really good look at the TaylorMade new milled grind 3 wedges here as well. So first of all, we can see that 5 iron we were originally looking at in the top kind of middle of this image. Next to that, just left of that and below it, we can see that 6 iron, which we saw the good up close look at the speed slot there. And then if you look to the right of the 5 iron, you can see that there's an 8 iron in this brand new TaylorMade P790s, but that does not have a speed slot in it. It does not have a speed slot on the bottom, but if you look in the middle on the bottom, you'll see a 7 iron. It is a left-handed 7 iron, but a 7 iron nonetheless. That does have a speed slot. So that answers the question of what clubs will have these speed slots. It looks like it will be the 7 iron, 6 iron, 5 iron, 4 iron, maybe 3 iron if you have a 3 iron. But 8, 9 pitching wedge won't have a speed slot. And you can even see just right of the 7 iron, there's a wedge that says A on the bottom, kind of a gap wedge or something. And that, again, does not have a speed slot. And it looks like there will be that kind of gap wedge in this iron set made available for options as well, which does again have that speed foam in the bottom of it. Now we can see these irons from a bit more of an angle from this image, and in my first video, if you haven't seen that first video, TaylorMade P790s, I kind of said I thought maybe TaylorMade wouldn't bring out the P770s this year, because the story is with these new P790 irons, this is apparently what the story is, that they're going to be basically the main issue they're trying to solve from the previous generation to these is that the previous generation, if you really flushed one out of the middle, you could get a flyer and see a big jump in distance of maybe 5 to 10 yards. Now, if you have owned a set of the P790s, maybe you've experienced this for yourself. Comment below, let me know. I'd love to know. I actually got fit for a set of these, didn't end up getting them, went with a different TaylorMade iron because of that flyer shot, because you got that real jump in distance when you really flushed it. Now, that apparently is the main issue they're trying to solve. A little bit more consistency of distance. So yes, the forgiveness, yes, the sound, yes, the feel, performance on off-centered strikes, all the good stuff we previously had, but without that one shot that just goes and does not stop. And that, if they can do that, would be incredible. You'd have to argue maybe they'd be the best irons of all time if they can do that. If you were generalizing these irons for good players, average players, higher handicaps as well, these irons would probably fit into that category to solve cover all of those different players the best of possibly ever any iron that's been released, if they are able to do that. Apparently, I thought from the first video, it looked like these irons were getting a little bit slimmer too. Apparently they have maybe a slightly longer blade length that's been rumored, slightly longer blade length. But apparently, I kind of thought they might be getting a little bit slimmer too. What do you think? Looking at this image, we can see the 7 iron, we can see the 6 and the 5. What do you think? Do you think these look slimmer than the previous versions? To me, if I was just looking at the 5 iron, I think it looks slimmer, but then I look at the 7 iron at the bottom, and to me, it still doesn't look that slim. Apparently, they might be trying to make the top line of these irons slightly slimmer as well, but they might be keeping that weight in the sole, because remember, these irons probably going to be pretty strong loss, probably not going to spin that much, but probably going to be a very, very high ball flight. That's typically what we see with these irons. They really lower the CG, get that kind of weight really low in the head, and then get that like springboard with kind of speed foam, strong lofts, speed slots, and that cuts the ball coming out super high, launching super high with not much spin, and that's how they get that distance, lowering dynamic loft increasing, lowering spin rate and lowering the overall loft, and then, you know, increasing that dynamic loft through the hit as well. So what do you think? Do you think these are any slimmer? I'm not sure. I may have been wrong there, or wherever I heard that, I can't even remember where I read that these irons were going to be a bit slimmer. May have been wrong. When I heard that these irons might be a bit slimmer, that made me think maybe we wouldn't see like the TaylorMade P790 irons. And again, let me know what you think of the TaylorMade P790 irons, the newer version, because if you are making these irons slimmer, more of a player's iron, and then you have like, they just released the TaylorMade P7 MBs, and then the TaylorMade P7, is it CBs, the ones Rick Shields uses. You know, why would you need a TaylorMade P790? Because then you're just gonna have like 4 different sets of irons pretty close packed in together, with not that much difference in between them. And then we already get like the TaylorMade Sim 2 and Sim 2 Max irons and those sorts of things for like the ultra distance, ultra forgiveness. So yeah, why would you then need the TaylorMade P790s? But, you know, looking at these images, looking at that 7 iron at the bottom, that doesn't look that slim to me. So, you know, it will be really interesting to see if they also bring out a new version of the P770s, because I think they probably don't need to. You know, I don't think TaylorMade's iron lineup would be missing too much of a gap, because if you went straight from these to like the TaylorMade P7 CBs, is that what they're called? I feel like that's not what they're called, but I'm going to call them that. You know which irons I'm talking about anyway. I feel like that's like, you know, a pretty good, you know, gap. It's not too big, it's not too small. They're still forgiving irons, they still have technology in them, and they're still forgiving, but they're just slightly more of a player's iron. And maybe you could get like a combo set of these and the CBs, and, you know, or the CBs and the MBs, or whatever you wanted to get. That would be pretty cool. I'd like to see that. Also, we can see from this image, you know, you've got the TaylorMade milled grind 3 wedges there. We can see 46 degrees, 56 degrees, 58 degrees, another 56, another 56. If we zoom in, there's a 62 degree right at the back covered in plastic behind the 5 iron. And we also have, if you look below the 5 iron, if you look, well, the top right, there's a black version, and also behind the 5 iron there's a black version. So confirmation that the TaylorMade milled grind 3 wedges will be coming in what looks like at least 2 finishes, with the chrome and then the matte black. Looks pretty cool. I did a video all about these wedges recently with some really up close images. I highly recommend checking that out. I'm going to be really interested to see what the story is with these wedges, because visibly from the outside, they're pretty plain looking. They do have some changes, it looks like, to like CG in the shape of them. But pretty plain looking. They look pretty good. I like the look of them a lot. You've got that 46 degrees at the bottom, standard bounce 9 degrees. You can see they're obviously still milled, still got the milling marks at the bottom as well. And yeah, let me know if you have any other thoughts on this image. We're going to take a look now at some more images of the TaylorMade P790s, the UDI, the 2 iron, which I have to say looks good. And the 2 iron, let's throw this image up first. So I believe this was Dustin Johnson's 2 iron at the Open Championship. And again, really interesting to see the looks of it. Definitely that upgraded look. To me, it looks more modern, a bit more aesthetically pleasing than the last P770. I think, you know, even though these irons have been really successful, when TaylorMade have upgraded them, even though they've just upgraded them once, while now we're seeing an upgrade twice, to me, the upgrades, even though, you know, you could say performance might be minimal, you know, they're still going to be great irons, even the first versions of them. but the aesthetics of them do look updated. They look more aesthetically pleasing personally to me. I like the slimmer amount of chrome on the back. I like they have less text on the back, less obvious text. They still have the same font in the TaylorMade, the P790 writing, but it's in slightly smaller writing. It looks like slightly less obvious. That tungsten is, not as obvious where it's written as well. And where they don't have TaylorMade written on the back, they just have that little logo. This is obviously a 2-iron. We can see that speed slot on the bottom of it, and it looks pretty good. Again, comment down below what you think of it. What other changes do you think? I have not had a TaylorMade P790 2-iron before. I have hit one, I've tested them, but haven't actually had one in the bag, so would be interesting to test. I personally prefer to go with a hybrid, but I do have a TaylorMade Sim hybrid in my bag at the moment. But I also do have a 2-iron that I kind of swap in and out sometimes. So now let's take a look at one more look at this TaylorMade P790 iron. And from this angle, actually, it looks a little bit different. This actually gives us a really good look at what this iron will look like up close. Again, you can see that chrome sliver through the back. Again, you can see that kind of matte finish top and bottom. You can see 2-iron, UDI. Again, to me from this angle, and let me know if you agree or not, it looks thicker at the back. It doesn't look as slim as it did from some of the other angles. It still looks really good. I really like the look of it. It looks more forgiving. You'd kind of expect it to not be too slim, because at the end of the day it's supposed to be a ultimate driving iron. That's what UDI stands for, and it needs to be forgiving, high launching, low spin, and forgiving on off-centered strikes. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I really do like it. I'm pretty sure this is the one Dustin Johnson used at the Open Championship at Royal St. George's. And guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this video with the TaylorMade P790 2021. Comment down below what you guys think of these irons. I'd love to hear your thoughts. To me, they look better. They perform, well, we'll have to wait and see how they perform. If you want that website I found where you can actually pre-order these irons, I thought it was a bit weird that you could pre-order them. I'm happy to give it to you. I would say I had not heard of the website before, so maybe order it at your own risk, or definitely look into it a bit more. I wouldn't imagine TaylorMade being overly happy with a website advertising pre-orders for a club they haven't officially released. So whether that's legitimate or not, that's up to you guys. But let me know what you think of these irons. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, if you think they'll have any new technology, what the story will be, the looks of them versus the previous versions. Let me know, guys. Make sure you do stay tuned for future videos. Give this one a like, comment your thoughts down below. I will see you in the next one, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Grip it and rip it.